in the United States of America?
Anything could happen. I think it's staggeringly unlikely.
Because, like, by raising your kids Jewish, you're kind of doing what Abraham did, because you're raising your kids in a world that hates Jews and wants to kill Jews. So, in a sense, by raising your kids Jewish, you're offering them up to God.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I don't really think the world does
hate Jews.
I mean, I've talked to...
How much of the world do you think hates Jews? What percentage? I'd say much of the Islamic world hates Jews.
But they don't. But yes, okay. But I guess when I say they don't hate Jews, but they don't. Look, I mean, okay, the Islamic world. Okay, I mean, they don't hate Jews per se. They hate
the Jewish state,
or not even the Jewish state. Okay, if we're talking about Israel, yes, the world is very much. Israel is not. Yeah, the world is. Israel has more enemies than friends. That's for sure. But, like, I mean, I've lived but just about Jews as a group, like, you know, I've lived in places where I was expected to encounter anti-Semitism. And
Saudi Arabia.
Not Saudi Arabia, but I mean Muslims who are... Egypt. Okay,
Syria.
So Egypt.
You lived in Egypt?
Oh, no, I didn't live in Egypt, but I've been all over the Arab North Africa and in much of the Middle East.
And you wore a yarmulke and tzitzit the whole time.
But my brother wore a big Magen David when we were in Jordan, and we went to the beach, and he was with his giant Magen David dangling around. But I did not do that. But I did tell people I was Jewish, and you know, people just have crazy ideas about all kinds of shit, and a lot of times they have crazy ideas about Jews, but but they don't really know anything, and it's not deep. It doesn't. I don't know. Just.
Why do you think people hate Jews?
Well, I think that in Europe, I mean, Jews played a kind of a social role that made it inevitable that people would kind of project all their problems onto Jewish people.
Because they were the middlemen between nobility and peasants.
Middleman minority is yeah, they were, and Jews are not the only example of. If you read the Jewish Century by Yuri Slezkin, he talks about this.
Yeah, I read that. That's a great book.
Great book. Kevin MacDonald, I must say, also talks about it.
How much of Kevin MacDonald have you read?
I've read all three.
Wow! Didn't you write about it for Juicy?
Yeah, John Derbyshire and I debated in quotes,
right.
The Kevin MacDonald, but we ended up talking much less about MacDonald and more about other things.
But he saw wolves, didn't he? See wolves, and then
he started with wolves,
and then he saw Jews as wolves. Does he see Jews as wolves?
He started with studying wolves, and then he moved on to something else. I forget what it was. Then he moved on to he was looking for similar kind of patterns in human behavior, and certainly with the first book of the trilogy, a guy, David Wilson, I'm pretty sure it's David Wilson, a very prominent evolutionary biologist, said that this is legit. I mean, he may be wrong, but this has scholarly integrity. You know, so the thing was he was taking these kind of paradigms, these real academic paradigms, and applying them to human cultures, and the fact that he chose Jews first is kind of staggering because it's like, you know, because it was but yeah, you know, so he's studying human cultures from an evolutionary perspective, and you know, it makes, whether he's batshit crazy, whether it turns out all to be wrong or whatever, I did find it very interesting.
Do you think he's anti-Semitic? Do you think he hates Jews?
He does. There's no doubt that he dislikes the impact that Jews have had on American society, or what he perceives that impact to have been. He thinks it has been very harmful, and he is a white. At this point, I think it's clear that he's a white nationalist. But you know, that doesn't mean as much as you might think. I mean, we have professors who say that they got into studying some aspect of the Iraq War because they wanted to do something. Okay, so they had a political agenda that they wanted to perform academic work in service of. That doesn't mean that what they come up with is wrong. Maybe they're, you know, it's something to keep in mind as you read what they've done. But
did you find the books interesting?
Very, very interesting.
So you'd recommend them? What type of people would enjoy reading those books? People interested in evolutionary biology. I
think anyone, look, there. First, let's get out front that there are people there are many people who are much better versed in kind of the intricacies of how evolution works, who will slur McDonald to no end, and who will say that I'm full of shit for thinking it was interesting, or that I'm just ignorant, and that's why I thought it was interesting. But I think anyone who enjoys reading Jewish history, if you read Max de Montt and you find that kind of thing interesting, and you're capable of reading opposing points of view without personalizing them and feeling personally attacked, then I think you would find McDonald fascinating, because it's a totally different approach to the same history, and it's a really kind of and you can get so much triumphalist kind of Max de Montt type history. The Jews, yes, we did this, and the Byzantine art, they thought it wasn't Jewish, but really we did that too, and so it was just. Yeah, it was a very interesting read for me. And I don't know that he was right about a single thing, but he clearly had done. Yeah, but it certainly will defy any caricature of, it's just idiotic anti-Semitic doggerel, and this guy's an idiot. I mean, no, you can't write him off as if you can't honestly come away with that impression. He's clearly done a lot of work applying these academic theories to Jewish culture.
Do you think that IQ measures something real?
Historically, I have thought no. I never really believed in IQ. I thought people gave me credit for being intelligent when I knew that. It was that I was very inquisitive and that I was confident in my ability to learn things. I thought adults were like tricked. I thought, it's funny, they think this is intelligence. It's not, because I know friends who are not as interested in this stuff. They are just as smart as I am, but they don't. But a lot of their studies recently have indicated that maybe there is something that they call G, general intelligence. I guess all I can say is that it's not. If that's true, it's not really consistent with my own experience.
It's kind of a shame that it's given out unequally between the races.
Well, IQ certainly. There's no getting around the fact that that IQ tests in sub-Saharan Africa have produced wildly different results than IQ tests of people from northern climes. But there are also, but you don't know what that means. And for someone like me who's not even convinced that the general intelligence exists in an individual, I mean, I don't know, but there's no getting around the IQ, the fact that the best kind of most normalized IQ tests, the culturally normalized IQ tests that they can come up with, have come up with vastly different results.
What do you think about Kevin McDonald's idea that the Talmud was a great eugenics breeding test because people who could master these abstruse, useless pages were then married off to the best women and.
Right. Well, I mean, I think you don't even have to address McDonald there. I mean, if you look at there's a
Dennis Vandenhag said the same thing.
Yeah, and Charles Murray said that the mandating of literacy among the Jewish population naturally propelled lots of people out who had who were not as well endowed with intelligence. The question isn't even See, the way these things usually work rhetorically in the argument is, okay, you figure out what did he say, where can we knock it down? That's really a waste of time, I think. I mean, it's is there anything there that's true? So, I mean, if you look at Jewish history was lots of things. The Talmud is lots of things. The Talmud is, had lots of motivations either behind the people who were part of it. But yes, the fact is that in Jewish culture, highest status was given to people who mastered this kind of taxing cognitive skill, which was, debating this wild, protracted text. So, I mean, that had an impact. If genes, that has an impact. If they had, if that privileged them socially and gave them access to better or more women or whatever, then that will leave a genetic impact. Whether it's significant, who knows? But certainly Charles Murray thinks that it was, and Kevin McDonald thinks that it was. And I mean, you can just dismiss the whole thing out of hand if you like, but
to your detriment.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's fear of if someone who dismisses it in its totality